Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Rosika and this is the Midnight Reader. And today we are doing something that is long overdue. We are going to be showing off my bookshelf, which has been recently cleaned, as evidenced by things being on the floor and not where they should be. So I started a project a few months ago, which was to dramatically downsize the amount of books on my bookshelf and in my permanent collection. So I think it was Aldi Books left a really great comment, which said that she is trying to be a curator versus a collector. And I am also trying to cultivate that energy. So I'm going to show you kind of what my bookshelf looks like now. I can insert probably a photo or video of what it looked like before, because I think I did pull a little bit of B-roll maybe a year ago. And I've just gotten rid of a ton of books. So I'll show you what it currently looks like. FYI, my plant area is to the left. Some of the books that I just didn't want on this bookshelf, so these are like reference books and like books from school, I've decided not to let go of, but they're there. I just don't want them on this bookshelf. That's what those books are. So we'll start from the top. This is my collection of tarot cards because I was like, hey, I have extra space, a place to put them. And then up there, those like 5 books are books that I have read or that belong to other people that need to be removed from the collection and or returned. Then I have my Harry Potter books, which I usually don't show on screen because I don't agree with things that she has said of recent. However, these books are very special to me, so I keep them up here. So I'm not, advertising her books, but they are important to me, so I still have them. And then these are other like books that I grew up with. This is like my collection of all my Tamara Pierce books that I grew up with, Patricia Reed books. That is let's get rid of this. This is actually a brick from the church that I got married in, and my little Iceland patch, which needs to go on a backpack someday. You'll also notice things like 5K medals, random half marathon medals, because I just have nowhere to put them, and I thought it would be nice if I could see them. So this is the first shelf of like permanent collection books. I did count. I have 27 books in my permanent collection, which is these 2 shelves right here. I have books on my wish list for my permanent collection. I'm going to spend, a lot of time slowly collecting and accruing, and I may still downsize. There are some books on here where I'm like, do I really need to keep this forever? But for the most part, as of right now, this is my permanent collection of books. Here's my little Groot. He still has all the classics in a cup, stars that I still need to read, but the TBR list is now long, so baby Groot just has to sit there. I made this thing. I was a child. It's like a little container. In my permanent collection, I've got a Gary Larson book. This is one of the ones I stole from my father. I loved his cartoons growing up. They're just very funny. I'm sure you have seen them somewhere because they're sort of ubiquitous in culture. I have another cartoon book, which is Strange Planet by Nathan Pyle. This one was a gift from a friend. Probably one of my favorite books of all time, The Sound of a Wild Snail Eating by Elizabeth Tova Bailey. If you have a chance to read it, please do, because I'm starting to feel like the snail lady of the internet every time I recommend it. I have American Shaolin by Matthew Polly, which was one of my favorite books growing up, which is about a white dude who goes to train with the Shaolin monks, and it's sort of hilarious. Eat, Shoots, and Leaves by Lynn Truss, which is just a great grammar book, and it's half reference, and is also just funny. Educated by Tara Westover. This was one of my recent editions. I really enjoyed it, and I loved what she had to say about how in education set her mind free in the world, and I just thought it was a really good read. I really enjoyed it. Also in memoir, Wild by Cheryl Strayed. This is the book that made me want to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, but I do not have time for that, so I'll just keep the book instead. The Emperor of All Maladies by Siddhartha Mukherjee. This is one of my favorite medical books of all time on the history and biography of cancer. One of the most heartbreaking books ever, and it is actually also fantastic. I tried to keep like nonfiction sort of together, which is why that's such a small shelf. Next is my fiction shelf. Probably my favorite Amy Tan book, which is Saving Fish from Drowning. I used to have a lot more Amy Tans. I have downsized them because this is my favorite. Catalyst by Laura Halse Anderson. Laura Halse Anderson wrote Speak. She was one of my favorite authors growing up as a teenager. Catalyst was the book I actually enjoyed more than Speak, so I kept that one. Also in books I kept to remember my youth. Paper Towns by John Green, which was my favorite fiction book of John Green's, and then Anthropocene Reviewed, which is just a phenomenal book about the human experience. Please read it. I have Agatha Christie, which is Murder on the Orient Express, as well as several other of his mysteries. Agatha Christie is one of my favorite mystery writers, so she deserves a spot on the shelf. Works of Charles Dickens. I picked this up at a library sale. I have it because it has a copy of A Christmas Carol in it, and that is one of my favorite stories I've ever read, so it's in here. I have a couple of classics. Animal Farm by George Orwell. Beowulf. This one's a sentimental pick. I have the Sagas and Shit, Icelandic Literature, Crudely Abridged by Grace Del Faro, which this is not on my shelf because it's an amazing book, but because I really enjoyed my trip to Iceland with my husband on our baby moon. So that is a book I have to remember that. One by One by Ruth Ware, my favorite Ruth Ware. Wonderful thriller mystery writer. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Probably one of my all-time favorite romances with one of my all-time favorite male romantic interests. The Martian by Andy Weir. Project Hail Mary is also on my list to add to my shelf. I really enjoy Andy Weir's science fiction writing. Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Mizuki Sugimura. I really enjoyed this. It's like a fantasy fiction story about a group of Japanese school children who transport themselves to a castle run by a girl in a fox mask through their mirrors, and they don't attend school. This was like a 4-star read for me, but my husband bought the book, so it was a gift and I'm keeping it. Next was Legends and Lattes, also a gift from my husband and one of my favorite cozy fantasies of all time. The Constant Rabbit by Jasper Fjord. It might be Forday. I might just be saying his name wrong. That's okay. I enjoy him very much. I love Jasper Fjord's writing, and I'm also looking for one of his other books to add to my shelf. I think it's called Shades of Grey? Shades of Grey. Brendan Sanderson, Warbreaker, one of my favorite standalone fictions he's written. The 2 books I have from the Stormlight Archive series by Brandon Sanders, Oathbringer and Rhythm of War. Brandon Sanderson is one of my favorite adult fantasy writers of all time. He weaves quite the world. And then I have Red Storm Rising by Tom Clancy, which I just really enjoy this particular Tom Clancy. I've gotten rid of all the rest of them, but that particular Tom Clancy was really good, so it's gonna stay there for now. Moving on down, the next 2 shelves here at the bottom, this is my TBR shelf. These are the books that will explode in a year from when I got them if I don't read them. So these are transient books. These will not be staying in the permanent collection unless they turn out to be a favorite, which I'm sure the bulk of them will not be. These are here temporarily. So on my TBR shelf, I have The Wild Silence by Raynor Winn. I read her first memoir, The Salt Path, and I thought it was pretty good, and I found this at a local library sale, so I thought I'd pick it up. The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton is a classic I've never read. 2 books in the season series by Ellie Smith, Autumn and Winter. I'll try Autumn and Autumn and we'll see if I enjoy it. The most beautiful book in my collection, Heidi by Joanna Spire. I'm planning on reading this probably this month or next month. Ariel, Poems by Sylvia Plath. This is also a very short book. Hopefully we'll read soon. I have The Odyssey by Homer, Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple, A Trick of the Light by Louise Penny, Clockwork by Philip Pullman, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, The Crucible by Arthur Miller, and Sacred Cows and Chicken Manchurian by James Staples. Those were all books I picked up from little libraries. Random books I thought would be interesting. On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I think I actually also found that in a little library. And then Butterflies in November. This was a book I picked up in Iceland. I might also read that one this month or next month. It is translated fiction by a female author. So I guess Women in Translation Month is August, so I should probably read a book. I have Pet by, I don't know how to say your name, Akweke Emitsi? I'm not sure. I'm so sorry. This was also in a little library. I have heard very good things about it, and it's been on my personal TBR for quite some time. These are 2 classics that have been on my shelf for quite some time, and instead of getting rid of them, I'm giving myself a year to A, either finish the Arabian Nights, or B, read one of these books by the Bronte sisters. I'm probably gonna go with Jane Eyre or Wuthering Heights. I don't know. But if I can read at least one from the Bronte sister novels, this can stay on my shelf. And then I have to finish Arabian Nights. I've started and stopped it many, many times, and if I can't finish it, this beautiful, beautiful copy can be passed along to someone else. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silver. There's a couple books from my dad here. Washed Away by Jeff Williams, The Marquis, Valiant Ambition by Nathaniel Philbrick. These are all books from my dad, so if I don't get to them, I will just return them to him. House in the Sky by Amanda Lindhout. I have a couple of political books. Mr. Jefferson and the Giant Moose, as well as a couple of collection of speeches. Believe it or not, I actually enjoy reading political speeches. Who knew, right? They're like inaugural addresses for different presidents. I have Kim by Rudyard Kipling. This book has been on my shelf for a long time. It's a beautiful copy. If I don't read it, I will give it to my dad. And then I have The Book of Fairy and Folk Tales of Ireland. This is a book I got in Ireland with my husband in a little tiny bookshop, and I would like to at least read some of it. So I'm giving myself a year to at least read some of it. Down here, you'll see recent additions from my latest library book haul, which are The Rosie Effect, The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, Piranesi by Susanna Clark, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, Fates and Furies by Lauren Groff, The Murder at the Vicarage by Agatha Christie, Yearbook by Seth Rogen, Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, The Summer of '69 by Ellen Hildebrand, and then I just have a couple of small journals down here which I'm trying to use to write out episode ideas and channel scripts versus putting everything on my phone. Again. Yeah. So that is my bookshelf. 2 shelves of TBR, 2 shelves of permanent collection, childhood classics, and then I have tarot cards and returns up there. So yeah, I do actually have 2 books I'm going to be adding to my permanent collection. The total on these 2 shelves I counted is 27 books, which is, I feel, fairly impressive because I think I started with, a good couple hundred books in my collection. So my husband, very nicely, for our 10th wedding anniversary, bought me a couple of books from my permanent collection wish list. Bought me The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, which is just a lovely story, and I can't wait to read it to my daughter. It's a philosophical musing on life disguised as a children's book, and it's adorable, and I love it, and it warms my heart. If you've never read The Little Prince, it has illustrations in it of the little prince on his various adventures. It's poetic, it's kind, it's sweet, and it's sad, and I love everything about it. I'm so happy I have a copy of this little novel that has won a place in my heart. And the second book my husband got me for our anniversary is this cloth-bound copy of Pride and Prejudice. It's funny because he didn't like the colors, and I do. You can see it's got these beautiful like cranes and swans on it. This reminds me so much of the book that Keira Knightley is reading in the opening scene of Pride and Prejudice, the movie. It's like the same color without the like cranes on it, and it just feels lovely. I adore everything about it, and Pride and Prejudice is my favorite Jane Austen, and I don't think I've ever owned a copy. I'm really, really happy to add this one to my permanent collection. So that brings my permanent collection up to 29. I will try to keep you posted as I add more books to it. Also over here is a ton of books that need to go to Goodwill in a diaper box, because everything I own now goes in diaper boxes. And that's all she wrote. I think from my TBR shelf, I'm gonna try to read Butterflies in November and Heidi in the next like month to 2 months. And I think I'm gonna try to pull 1 to 2 books every month. I will definitely not get through them all in a year, but it is a good opportunity for me to be honest about the books I actually want to read. Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming to my belated shelf tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, as always, for watching my channel, subscribing, liking the videos, commenting, and being kind. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all next video. Bye!